video, I'll share with you a beautiful original piece that uses only Travis picking. Now, if you're not familiar with Travis picking, this is one of my favorite finger picking patterns, made famous by the amazing Merle Travis. So let's begin with a demo of this piece called Awakening, and then we'll move into our tutorial. This piece was recorded on my Waking Heartstrings album, and creating the tabs as well as this lesson are a special thank you to my Patreon community for passing 500 patrons. So thank you so much for your support, and if you're not yet a member and you'd like to download these tabs or any of the tabs that I've shared on my channel, you'll find the link down below in the video description. Next, we're moving into our lesson, and I want to point out that this arrangement is for low G tuning. In our tutorial, we'll cover how to play the Travis picking pattern and how to apply it to the melody. Let's start off by looking at our Travis picking pattern that's used throughout this arrangement. Here's the pattern played slowly on a C chord. We're starting by picking strings 4 and 1 together with our thumb and middle finger. Then we'll pick string 3 with our thumb, string 2 with our index finger, up to string 4 with our thumb, down to string 1 with our middle finger, back to string 3 with our thumb, and then we finish on string 2 with our index finger. The rhythm of this pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, one of the main characteristics of Travis picking is that we alternate strings with our thumb. So we're going back and forth between the 4th string and the 3rd string with our thumb using this pattern. your thumb, index, middle, and ring fingers on strings 4 down to 1. And here's how this would look. I find the first method easier, alternating between strings using my thumb, but feel free to use whichever picking fingers are most comfortable to you. Bringing this pattern up to the tempo of this arrangement at 150 beats per minute sounds like this. We're going to apply this Travis picking pattern to almost every measure in this arrangement. So for some measures, we'll simply form a chord, such as this F chord, and play the pattern to complete the measure. However, for other measures, we have additional notes that start off on our first or fourth string. And these can be either using a hammer-on, using a slide, or using a pull-off. So let's go over each of these examples. In measures 1 and 2, we start off with a hammer-on. Here we're on an A minor chord, so I have my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. When we pick strings 4 and 1 together, we're then going to hammer onto the 2nd fret of the 1st string using our ring finger. Then we'll pick the rest of the pattern, keeping our fingers in place. Here's how we count the rhythm of measures 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now let's look at measure 15. Here's an example of starting off the measure with a slide. So we start this measure with our ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. When we pick strings 4 and 1 together, we're then going to slide our ring finger to the 3rd fret. Then we'll finish the pattern, keeping our ring finger in place. The rhythm of this measure is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we'll look at measure 17. Here's an example of starting the measure with a pull-off. So we start measure 17 forming our G chord, and after we pick strings 4 and 1 together, we're going to pull off with our middle finger. Then we'll finish this pattern, keeping that 1st string open. The rhythm of this measure is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Measure 18 is a bit tricky because we move our fret hand position at the end of the measure. So we start measure 18 on our G chord the same way we started measure 17. But for the last 2 notes in this measure, we're going to play the open 3rd string and then the 1st fret of the 2nd string, which puts our fret hand in place to form our F chord as we move into measure 19. So we're going to start this pattern in measure 19 picking only the 4th string, not the 4th and the 1st string together. We're starting this measure with our index finger already in place from the previous measure. We'll pick the open 4th string and then hammer onto the 2nd fret with our middle finger, forming our F chord. Then we'll pick the rest of the measure, keeping our index and middle fingers in place. So here's how we count measure 19. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You'll find a few other measures in this arrangement that are played exactly the same way as measure 19, where we start with only the 4th string. The last thing I want to highlight is how to play the harmonics in our final measure. Here we're gently resting our index finger on the first and second strings, directly above the 12th fret. We're going to pick these strings with our index and middle fingers a few inches back, and when we pick the strings, we'll immediately lift up our index finger. If this is your first time playing harmonics, then I have 2 tips for you. One is to practice the coordination of your hands so that you're lifting your fret hand finger and picking the strings at the same time. The other tip is to experiment with the distance between your picking hand and your fret hand, as you don't want to be too close or too far, but you'll find an area where there's a sweet spot. If you'd like to see more of my original Travis picking melodies, as well as song tutorials that use the Travis picking pattern, then see this playlist here. Have fun practicing, and thanks for watching.